Hi everyone, it is the dead of winter and I am going to do some landscape designing for myself and for some of my friends. So I thought I would go through and make a video and show you how I do that. Stay tuned and we'll do that right now. Welcome to Design 101, doing it the easy way using your computer. I think most people have some type of computer or a tablet or something like that. You could probably do this on your phone, but I think it would be really hard. I'm not really good with the really small. I prefer a laptop, or a desktop would work too. And what I'm going to be using in this example is I'm going to be using Microsoft PowerPoint, but there are many different softwares you can use. You can use Paintbrush, you could probably use Canva, you can use many different ones. Anybody watching this video that has done what I'm going to show, please comment below on which software you use. There's many different ones that you can use that are something you're already doing. I don't want people to have to go out and purchase any software. Use what you've got on hand. So the first thing I like to do is you find a area of your house. Let's just say you want to landscape the front of your house. It looks pretty dull and you want to jazz it up a little bit. In this example, I have a picture of somebody's house that I helped do some landscaping on. And this is what it looked like when we started. It was the winter time, there's some snow in there. And the one thing that I like to do, I'm gonna get this out of there. The one thing I like to do is add some grass. So I've added grass in. One of the purposes of doing this is giving a visual example of what you want to do. Professional landscape designers use overhead plot diagrams and bubble diagrams, and a lot of people don't have the ability to see what you're talking about. I think the visual pictures really kind of show the person the end result, and it's much easier. And that's what I use when I help this homeowner, to show them what we could do with the landscape, to get some different ideas, and I gave some examples. It's very easy, it's quick. Or if you're trying to work with your significant other or a parent or somebody like that or a family member and you want to help them do some landscaping, doing this is a great way to show them visually how it will look. The first thing you should do is make sure you go out and get some images. So here's an example where I grab some images and then I remove the backgrounds. Let me show you how I did that. So here's an example where I have, this is a blue spruce tree. And so I have an image, and in most softwares you can remove backgrounds. Even on your phones nowadays you can remove backgrounds, and you could save it out that way if you want. But I did this using Microsoft PowerPoint. So here I have an image, I have it selected. I'm going to go up under picture format here. And then I'm going to go all the way to the left and it says remove background. I'll move my mouse around so you can see it right there. I'm going to click that and it automatically does a quick check of, well, how about if I just remove this much? You can see where it's purple here. It removed a little bit more than I wanted, so I go back up to the left and I want to tell it what areas I want to keep. So I'm going to go with this little pencil indicator and remove some of the pink, or tell it what I want to add back in. And you can be really detailed on this if you want, remove more or less. If you get too far, then it'll take away too much and you'll just have to say to remove it again. You'll have to practice between areas to keep and areas to remove. And then when you get it where you want it to be, you say keep changes. You can see, boom, like magic, the background's been removed. And I said most smartphones nowadays, the updates in software will do this as well. But if you want to do it right in the software you're using, just look for that option. You can Google it or YouTube how to remove backgrounds and images for whatever software you may be using. The next thing that I like to do is crop the image down. And so then I move it just to crop it down so it's a little bit less. And I'm going to hit enter to save. And I'm saving my work constantly when I'm doing this. Now I'm going to copy the image and I'm going to go back into this landscape area. I'm going to paste it in there just so you can see how it works. You can see how it almost looks like it belongs. Okay? It almost looks like it belongs in here, but You know, I'm not using it in this particular design, but you get the general idea. So now let's get back to other things that I think are a good idea. So you want to find shrubs that maybe that you know what they are, or you know you're watching other YouTube videos and you see, oh, they have this plant or that plant. So go look at those images and do your prep, get all of your images gathered, and go ahead and get all the backgrounds removed. And then it's much easier to go ahead with your design and just start placing them in there and moving around. It's almost like when I was a kid anyway, you'd have a sticker book and you can put stickers in the book and make the design different. It's just like that, but digital. The other thing that I suggest that you do is if you have a pet that you want to show, find the same type of pet in an image out on the internet to use in your landscape design. If you have certain items you want, certain plant potters, fountains, bird baths, park benches, or garden benches, get those images already. And then I suggest you take a picture of yourself, which I did here, because you need that for scaling purposes in the photo, because it's a flat 2D photo. So if we have all of these images ready, then we're ready to start. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my image and I am going to post it into the photo. And you can see once you put an image in there, it gives you a good idea of the depth that you have to work with. So this standard doors are 7 feet tall. I am not 7 feet tall. I am more like 5 feet tall. So I am going to move it right in there. Now, once I put that image in, you can see how far this is away. The other thing I like to do is leave one in the foreground, again, giving you depth perception of what you're doing. So we're just going to put this one up front. If possible, it's good to have a stake or something, or maybe you already have a fountain, something in your photo that you know the correct height is, so you can put an image of a person, yourself, or whoever you're helping, or your superhero, could be Spider-Man if you want, and put them in the photo. And that way you can get your depth perception down. It's best if you know how big the surface area is, but if you're just doing it to experiment, especially if you're working with your significant other, husband or wife, spouse, either way, especially if you're working with somebody else and you're trying to convey your ideas. So start with that. And I think one of the things that helps too is if you take a picture of the person you're doing it for and you put them in the landscape, especially if you're selling or trying to sell some services, that's usually something that helps to make the sale, just so you know. So what we're going to do here is I am going to start with a basic design. This particular face, this side of the house is facing east. So it does get at least 6 hours of sun, so it is full sun. The particular soil we're in is sandy soil, sandy loam. In this example, I'm trying to use some more common landscape plants that you see or you see people using. So let's start with something simple. Let's frame this door. So I might move myself out of the way for now. And let's frame this door. And the particular homeowner that I did this for loves arborvitaes. So here is an emerald green arborvitae I'm going to use to frame the door. So if we go back in here, I'm going to shrink this down. I know that a lot of times when people plant trees, you're not planting them when they're full size. You're planting them when they're really small. So you want to make sure you look at the tree and what size it's going to grow to. Arborvitaes and emerald green will grow about 15 feet tall. So it's going to be twice. So this is probably 10 feet, including the rise here. So it'll probably get about this tall and it will get 4 feet wide. So it will be pretty big. So when you're planting it, you want to know the max size and you want to get that in there at the max size. Now, when you start, you're going to have some distance there, but just, wow. I mean, look at that. This is just, all they did is put some green grass, which is just saying it's summertime, and a couple of arborvitaes in there. And it just really made quite a bit of difference. You can actually do colored mulches and stuff in here too. I'm not going to do that in this example. But yeah, so when you start, you can show kind of what that max size is going to be. And you might want to show the homeowner what, it's going to look like this to begin with. And then you can save it when it's small, and then you can grow them to show what it will look like 10 years down the road. Because that way I think it's important. I think when we do landscape design, that one of the mistakes are, as homeowners, we tend to want our landscapes to look perfect right away, and so we overcrowd them. My general rule of thumb on shrubbery is to leave it at least 2 to 3 feet apart when you're planting them, depending on what it is. An emerald arborvitae is not a shrub, it's a tree, and it does have a certain growth habit, meaning the width and the height, and you might want to keep that in mind versus a shrub that only grows to 2 feet in diameter. Then you can have your spacing right. You have to talk about, do you want your landscape to be really tight and clumped together, or do you want more separation? Everybody has their own taste and what they want. I'm going to leave these at this height, which is probably more like a 5-year height on these trees. Maybe I'll shrink it down just a little bit. Let's shrink her down. Because you can buy, especially an emerald arborvitae, at this size to give you a little bit closer. So the next thing that we're going to add to this, one of the most popular trees or shrubs that I see used, especially I'm in zone 4, so from July 4th through frost are going to be hydrangeas. Here is an example of a pink hydrangea. I don't remember which variety it was. And we're going to put that in the landscape. So I'm just going to put one in there. And I'm going to shrink it down so it looks about what it should look like. We're going to make it pretty small. And then I'm going to copy. I'm just doing Control-C and Control-V to get a bunch of them. And we're going to put a bunch of them. This tends to be a taller shrub, so I'm going to put it more towards the back. Now these can take up, depending on your variety, quite a bit of room, so keep that in mind when you're putting them in your landscape. So I'm just going to put some more in there. And then, depending on if you're really far or close to where you're working, you can actually try to size these manually. Again, you're doing this manually. You're not using a landscape software. This is just all on your own. You're saving thousands of dollars to do it yourself. And I just think it's fun to do, especially this time of the winter. I'm in the middle of winter right now. All right, so then you get kind of an idea. Okay, so now we've taken it from here, from where it was, and now it looks like this. So this is the original photo, and here's where we are now. So just added a few things. So let's look what else we can use. Other popular things that we can put in here are a flowering crabapple tree. People really tend to love the flowering crabapples. Now, a flowering crabapple and a hydrangea will not be blooming at the same time, but you kind of get the idea. So we put a little crabapple tree in there. Maybe it's a young one. We can put that in there like that. And we can get our puppies. Take a puppy, and we'll put a puppy in there to make it look a little bit more genuine. Put the puppy under the tree, and you can see how it's in front. You can force this image to be out in front or the back. Bring to front, bring to back, by simply selecting the image, right-clicking, and say send to front or bring to front, or send to back, okay? You'll have to play around with the software you're using. Again, this isn't really a software demonstration. As far as the things you can do, it's pretty vast, but you can Google individual things or go to YouTube and look up individual software things you want to try to do. All right, so again, so here now we've added one more thing. Let's go back and look at that original image and look at just a little bit of stuff we added. You can see it's really made a change. The homeowner loves having potted plants, so we are going to put a couple of decorative urns in this landscape. So I'm going to shrink this down just a little bit. Actually, I'm going to complete it. And then let's put some flowers in that urn. I've got some flowers that I picked right there. Here's some nice purple petunias I grabbed to put in the urn. So let's go back to our design. I'm going to paste that. I'm going to paste that in here. And I'm going to shrink it down to size. Okay, so I'm going to put it right on top. So boom, it looks like it belongs, right? So now what I want to do, I'm going to hold the shift key. And I got both of them selected at the same time. I'm going to group these together. So I right clicked, I selected both of them, and I'm going to group them together. Group, group. So now this is one image together. And so now I can shrink it together and it'll do whatever I want. Make it taller, fatter, shorter, whatever. So I'm going to shrink this down so it's reasonable. So if I put myself down here, I can kind of see, I know this urn is going to be about waist high. So I can shrink this down where it makes sense. Otherwise it would be too big, right? So you want perspective. And I would probably be just a little bit bigger if I'm at the bottom of the stairs, right? Because I'm closer to what would be the camera. So that looks good. Put myself back up here, roughly about the right height. And I'm going to take it, I'm going to copy and paste that image, and I am going to mirror the image. I really like symmetry in my designs. And so there, I got a lot of pink in here. So I might think I want to break that up a little bit. Because hydrangeas only really bloom in the late, you can actually put some annuals in front to give it a pop of color. You could put some, here's a barberry, which has color all the time. And put some more barberries in, kind of following this pink theme. This is also deer and bunny resistant. The hydrangeas are not. But you know, I'm getting kind of a lot of pink in there. You can see it's too much. The pink plays well off this red siding, but I need to get a neutral color, a different color in here. So let's pick something else. Here is some Carl Forster ryegrass. Sometimes grasses do really well in these types of designs too. And I'm just going to reduce it. And I'm going to put a couple grasses in there. Now I could leave this in the front like I have it right here, or I could make it just a little bit bigger. I think they maybe get about that big when they're fully grown, right? The nice thing about a Carl Forster ryegrass is it stays pretty compact. It doesn't spread too bad. Now, to show you how to bring images forward and back, I'm going to pick, I really want the ryegrass to maybe be in the back, or I want to see what it looks like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a hydrangea and I'm going to say bring this hydrangea to the front, to bring it to the front. So now, if you can see that it's in front of this object. So you see how I can move it? So I'm going to move this maybe a little bit more in the back. It gives it a little bit more depth. Copy. Or I can look and see, would I rather have it in the front? I think the front may be kind of nice. So I'm going to delete that, and then I'm going to make some more copies of this. And there's just so many choices. Now, one of the mistakes I see people make, I had neighbors that did this. They packed their landscape so full that it looked way too busy. And the new homeowner that came in and bought the property years later, they ripped everything out and redid it. It was just, they got a little design happy in there. But here you can see, here's one where I have just the plain shrubs. Here's one where I have, I'm going to do some more copies, right? To put it on both sides to keep it. Let's put another one here. Just to give it kind of symmetry, right? So we get symmetry on both sides. If you don't like the tree, you can move the tree out of there. But you can see how the symmetry kind of helps. And I'll put the tree back. See how I have the grass in front? I want this to be brought to the, I'll move the puppy out of the way. I want to bring the object to the front. So I got it in the front. So it's hiding. It's still back there. It's just hiding behind there. So it's kind of like putting layers one on top of the other. And I want to put the puppy back here. So he's going to hang out. And then what else do I want? I think I want to put maybe a nice bench in. So we'll grab a bench and bring the bench into the design. Here's a bench. I want to make sure I scale it so I'm in the foreground. So I'm going to scale this bench up quite a bit. There's a kind of an idea what that looks like. Or maybe we don't want the bench. You know, we may not want the bench. So maybe we'll get rid of the bench. I could put flowers, put a flower bed around this tree if I wanted. You can just, again, paste some different flowers in there. I think another thing might be good to put in maybe just a nice bird bath. So we'll copy it, put a bird bath in. We'll see what that looks like. Again, objects to draw your eye to the different areas of the yard. This isn't going to scale exactly right, but you kind of get the idea. You get it to scale down. Maybe I want to move this tree back so it's a little bit more in the background. Move the puppy out of the way. And maybe I don't want this bird bath. We'll get rid of the bird bath. Maybe we put a nice fountain in instead. I think I got a fountain I picked here. Here's a nice fountain. Maybe we put a beautiful fountain in. So here I'm putting the fountain. Pasting a fountain in. And again, this is a pretty good sized fountain. So here's a picture of me. So we're going to put this fountain maybe a little bit more in the foreground, put the puppy next to the fountain. You could put a planting of something around the fountain if you want. Let's put some of these same annuals, copy, around the fountain. Oops. Let's get a hold of those annuals. Again, you can pick any image you want, whatever you like. Some of the places to go get images is Pinterest, just Googling it, taking pictures of other people's stuff that you like, and then removing the background. So here's an example. Here I've got some flowers. You kind of get the general idea. So this is just one type of basic landscape that you can do. I can do lots of different ones. If there's anything particular you want me to do, send me leave me a message and say, what else would you like? And maybe if this is helpful, I could just use the same image and do additional landscape ideas on this image. One of the other things, I got some blank space here. I always like my space kind of filled out. I did go out and I grabbed a clematis. Here's one I took. So let's put a clematis on each side of that. Paste. Here we go. So we're going to want to get this thing sized so it will fit. And this would be on the house growing on a trellis. And so I need to get it behind these other items. So I need to bring some things to the front. So we're just going to move this out of the way. We're going to get this sized where it belongs. I bring this object out of the way. We're going to bring this one to the front. So now it's back behind. See how it's behind there? And we would have this going all the way up here. And then we're going to put this back where it was. I'm going to bring it to the front. I'm going to bring this one to the front. Bring this to the front. Here we go. So now it's in the front. And this one, we're going to bring that to the front too. When you move it, you break kind of the design and you need to just simply tell it to be in the front. So this is how you would do that. Now this one's already in the back, so I might be able to copy this and paste it, and it may, nope, it's going to make me redo this. So what I would do is move some objects out of the way again, and I'm going to shrink it down, because again, perspective-wise, I'm at a little bit of an angle. And so I want to bring this to the front, and then I'm going to put that back in there. Bring this one to the front too. Bring this to the front. So it's always about bringing it to the front. You're not really going to want to send it to the back because it will send it behind the tile of the actual PowerPoint slide. So if I'm using PowerPoint anyway, that's what will happen. So here is just an example of how you can do your own landscape design, save thousands of dollars, have some fun, trial different things to see how it will look. And what a difference. So let's go back to the original image. Let's see how it looks. And just to see what a drastic difference. So there's the before. And there's the after. I did a few other designs as well. I'll just kind of page through them really quick. So here's a basic one, different kinds of shrubs. This is a blue point juniper instead of a emerald green. Here I put the images, I put the shrubs on the end of the house versus or framing the door. Here's a different type of design again at the end of the house. And here is just a different one, which kind of equals the one I just did when I was kind of playing around with it. So if this is helpful, give us a thumbs up so YouTube knows to share this with others. If you enjoy this landscape design, make sure you comment so I know. Consider subscribing so that you can have some other fun videos. I've got a lot of them. Check my playlists. Thanks for stopping by. Have a great day.